All right, starting with example 1, which we've done, how do you say this in words? Go ahead, Kirsten. Right, keep it simple, 8 times x. Again, driving home the point that when you see a number followed by a variable, it means to multiply, because you're no longer going to see the dot anymore, nor definitely not going to see an x symbol to mean multiply. One thing that I do want to bring to your understanding is that no matter how you see it, so, and don't write this, if you see a number times 4, and let's say a number is the variable n, no matter what, you always put the number before the variable when you write that expression. Okay? It's called a coefficient. This number right here that is before the variable is called a coefficient. And whenever we write it out mathematically, no matter what way the word problem or word expression reads, when you translate it to this or whatever by a variable, the number always goes first. You just have to kind of memorize that. It's just the way it gets done mathematically. All right? So as I mentioned, the number that precedes the variable is called a coefficient. Everybody say that. Coefficient. You're going to hear it an awful lot over the next couple weeks. And of course, the letter after is called the variable. Everybody say variable. Variable. So in the example, 8x, what's the coefficient and what's the variable? Franco, what's the coefficient? 8. And the variable? X. Very good. All right? All right, let's build further. The dot is going to no longer be used either. So we're going to take the dot out. And we certainly don't use x anymore. Why do we not use x anymore in algebra?
Because it looks like the variable x.
You got it. Let's write that down. It looks like a variable. We're not going to use the dot either, but as you see, we kind of still have to use the dot when we substitute numbers in. I'll give you for instance, but first write that down and I'll show you where we may still need to use the dot.
Yeah, because if you're doing like just like a number times a number, you can't put it.
That's correct. Right. That's right. All right. So what he's saying, and Sal is correct, is that let's say I give you the value for x and I tell you it's 5. Make believe the expression is 6 times x, and I tell you that x is 5. When you go to substitute that number in, you can't put the two numbers together. This doesn't mean 6 times 5. This means the number 65. So if I'm going to substitute 5 in, I have to use the dot to indicate that I have to multiply. What you're also going to see, and you'll see more and more of it in 7th grade, that also means to multiply 6 times 5. Okay? Parentheses means to multiply as well. As a matter of fact, you're going to see the parentheses in about a couple of lessons when we go back and do distributive property. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next page because it's building on this. In 6x, once again, what's the coefficient?
6. What? 6.
What's the variable? What's the variable? Yeah. Got it. You can also put two letters together when you want to multiply. So A times B, how would you write that algebraically? Cat.
A and B.
A and B. That means to multiply. All right? Okay, ready? Ready? If I told you that A is 3 and B is 2, evaluate AB. A is 3, B is 2. Evaluate AB. Sal. If I tell you A is 5 and B is 2, evaluate AB. Guess what? You're doing algebra, because that's what that is. It's all about substituting in, doing the operation, and getting an answer. All right? So far, so good? Move on? All right, this we already discussed. Can't put two numbers together. because it looks like the number 35. Ready for your next leap? Yeah, Charles.
Wouldn't you be able to do it with just 35 because you know it's 3 times 5? But what if it's just
You don't know. If you give it to somebody else, let's say you put it together, yeah, maybe you know it's 3 times 5. The person you hand it off to wouldn't. Add the dot to be sure. It's just the way it gets done. All right. Ready to take the next leap? Okay. Take a look at this expression. 6 times x times 5 times y. I'm going to evaluate this expression, and I'm going to give you and tell you that x is 2 and y is 1. First thing you have to do, always, 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 is what? I've been telling you how important it is. Let's see if you remember. Steven? No, not yet. We're going to actually leave them in for right now. We're going to leave them in for right now because I'm not going to simplify it yet. Say it. Say it. We have to substitute in the values that I'm giving you. I'm telling you that x is 2 and y is 1. So we're going to rewrite the expression now with the new values for x and y. And then evaluate it. Now, you don't have to do order of operations here because it's all multiplication. So you could just do 6 times 2 times 5 times y times 1 in your head. And Charles, what do you get?
60.
Let's circle that. 60 it is. Kind of want you to remember that number because now you're going to take that leap. Go to the next page. Let's just write 60 in the corner here from the previous page because our expression here is exactly the same exact expression from the bottom of the last page. Tell me if you're okay with this. Ready? Would you say that this expression in the box and this expression are equivalent? Who agrees they are equivalent? Who disagrees? Anybody not sure? Okay, ready? 6 times x, if we take the dot out, isn't that 6x? So far, so good. Times 5 times y, 5y. We're good. Okay, it's the same. And I will tell you this. If you are not sure, back on the last page, what did I tell you x was?
2.
Okay, that's fine. You can call it out. And what was y?
1.
Watch, ready? 2 and 1. What's 6 times 2? 12. What's 5 times 1? It's 12 times 5. So now we know we have to get the same answer as we did. Every time we combine, we get the same answer. We know this is equivalent to this. So far, so good. Ready? I'm going to erase this so it's not in the way. In 6x, what's the coefficient?
6.
This time, raise your hand up.
6.
Okay, coefficient is 6. In 5y, what's the coefficient? Jules, 5. Mathematical rules allow us to combine and multiply our coefficient times our coefficient and our variable times our variable. Okay? So, our coefficients are 6 and 5. Multiply them, and what do you get? This you could say out loud if you want. 6 times 5. 30. I'm going to write that here. X times y. Well, we don't know the values for x and y right now. It's just xy. How do I prove that this expression that we just created is equivalent to this? Antonio.
Since we already know the value of 30, we just need to figure out what x times y is, and then multiply it.
Okay. let's build on what he said because we could take it a step further. Chris?
You would have to, wait,
I know this properly. I
just
just
had it, but, it just, like, it tells us, like,
Say it
what
because
x and 2 are,
yeah,
2,
they're
1, and then when you multiply that.
that's right. The values for x and y have not changed. If we substitute those same numbers in for x and y, which we're going to do right now, let's rewrite it and sub it in. 30 times 2 times 1. What do you get? Tracy, you get 60. We now know this is an equivalent expression for this. Here's the difference. This is called expanded notation or an expanded expression. This 60 is called the standard formation. We've simplified it, okay? I mean this. This is the evaluated. 30xy is standard notation, and this was expanded. Think about when you think of the word expand, you're spreading it out. So this is more spread out than this. When you go from here to here, everybody repeat after me, combining like terms. Combining like terms means you're taking anything that you can do that's expanded and you kind of crunch it so it's a nice little neat, nifty, tidy number. And we're going to just practice it. Okay? So far so good, right? Okay, go to the next page and let's practice it. The example. That's expanded form. We combine like terms. We don't need the dot. Coefficients 3, variables h. I'm going to start you off easy, and then it's going to get trickier, but I don't want to scare you away right away. Okay? But if you take it piece by piece, you're going to be okay. And like I said, the fact that there's only 15 of you here today, it does help. All right, so 6 times a. Let's combine the terms. When you combine it, you want to try to do it with as few symbols, letters, and numbers as possible.
So you would multiply all the coefficients.
You gather all your coefficients first, then gather all of your variables together. So this one's simple. This is very simply what? What's our combined term? 6a. Coefficient 6, variable a. Let's do 2.
I like it. I just did it.
Combine your numbers. And I like to cross them out as I do them, so I know not to do it again. It's kind of easy. Allows me to keep track. 3 times 7 is. And as I do it, I'll cross it out so I know it's done. X times y. X times y. Charles. Stephen. XY. That's it. Done.
Oh, that's what I did.
That's it.
I thought you wanted the answer.
No, see, there is no answer. When we have variables that I'm not giving you values for, there is no answer. We just got to combine it. 21, x and y. Okay? What about 2 times 2 times 2 times m times t? Combined term. Franco.
8mt.
Sounds good. Getting more and more advanced. 5 times z times 2 times y times m times 3.
Okay.
All right, Sal. Go ahead, Sal.
I got 30 ZYM.
All right, let's see if he's right. 5 times 2 times 3. Take care of the coefficients first. 30. Okay? And he's partly right.
Oh, you have to put them in order?
You got to put them in alphabetical order.
So, and why-
It's just the way it gets done. Not that it would affect the answers because it's all multiplication, but the way it gets done mathematically is you put them in alphabetical order. So you have M, Y, and Z. And I like to put a little line through Z so it doesn't look like a 2. What about 5? We're going to do a few more together, and then I'm going to let you finish it up on your own because you're getting it. All right, Julia, go. Sounds good to me. Coefficient 12, variables a and b. Number 6 is easy too, but I want to see if you can remember to put it in alphabetical order.
And I
Do we have to put it in alphabetical order?
What?
We have to put the letters in alphabetical
I wouldn't take off points, but I'm going to remind you every time. I'd like you to.
neither.
Okay? Kirsten, go.
27 DEYZ.
27, Des Bryant. You got it. Okay? I think there's another leap coming up. I'm not sure. This one's not. What about this one? Yeah, no.
7
8 is a leap. Small. If you remembered what we did back in lesson 1, it's not a leap.
10 is a huge leap.
Isn't that no, it's not.
Oh!
That's not
Yeah!
Well, right now we're on 8.
I know that. I know this. I think I know this.
Steve Salerno.
12 GGG.
No, it's not.
Not that you're wrong, but you can combine it even further. That's the key. Remember, fewest numbers, letters, and symbols possible.
Oh, G.
No, that's not right. Not 12G. Gabby,
G cubes.
give it to me from the whole thing.
12 G cubes.
12G to the third. Remember we did exponents back in lesson 1? This is why we did it. Because you now know a number times a number times a number is that number raised to, in this case, the third power. But we don't know the number for G, so we just say G cubed. Coefficient is 12, and look, there's only one variable. You don't need to put G3 here, it's just the variable's G.
But there's 3 G's.
Doesn't matter, there's only one variable, we're just repeating it 3 times. Okay? Now knowing that, I bet you could do number 9.
I just did it. I can't. I don't know what happened.
Take it piece by piece. If you know what to do, you just now have to just be careful. All right, Franco, go. Slowly, because I'm going to do it. I'm going to cross it out as you do it.
25.
Okay, sounds good.
A squared.
Yup, there's 2 A's,
Y.
1 Y.
And Z squared.
You got it. And you remember to put it in alphabetical order too. That's a winner. Okay? But when you list your coefficient, your variables are just simply A and Y and Z. Okay? All right, here's what you guys are going to do. You're going to finish the rest on your own. Okay? There is a second page. It goes on. Oh, it doesn't. We did the second page. Tell you what you can do. Why don't we do this? Because there's time. 10, 11, and 12. And then since we have a nice small group and you guys are pretty smart, why don't you try the advanced? Okay? Because I'll tell you what, the advanced really is a sneak preview to what we're going to be doing probably tomorrow or Monday anyway, so you might as well get a head start. Okay? And I'll tell you this, this is your incentive. Stop for a minute. Your incentive. After you've shown me, go back for a minute. The rest of these are hanging up. 10, 11, and 12 are hanging up over by the Fox Sports sign. Advance is not hanging up. Show me, every time you're done with one, show it to me. And if you keep progressing, when you get to number 5, okay, that's 8th grade math, number 5. Okay? It's not, if you reason through it though, a lot of kids are getting it right, which is really impressive. But this is 8th grade math. Okay? If you know what to do, I have a feeling you can do it. But you can't just go to this right now. You need to see me along the way. It's like climbing the rungs of a ladder. You do not have permission to do number 5 until you've shown me 1 through 4. Okay? So go ahead, group up and go.